Alright, it's been a while since we've taken on a box this big on the desk. This is the Gigabyte GS27Q X gaming monitor. I'm pretty excited to put this through its paces since it's promising some features that are unheard of in its price range. Let's get it unboxed and tested. But before we continue with the video, let's keep the lights on here in the studio. This video is brought to you by Sneak Attack Design Lab. They're a clothing company that specializes in technical fashion, more commonly known as techwear, and you can see me in their clothes in most of my videos. I've been supporting their brand ever since I met them back in 2019, and now they're returning the favor. Head on over to this link, you can find it in the description as well, to get 10% off your order from their site. Check their clothes out, you're bound to see something badass over there that'll look great on you. Thank you very much to Sneak Attack for this exclusive promo for my viewers. Now, back to the video. So the GS27Q X is Gigabyte's latest entry into their high refresh rate IPS 27-inch monitors. It's a much more streamlined, simplified model, trying to deliver all the necessities that gamers want without jacking up the price too much. As we can see, it comes in a mostly bare cardboard box. This might be a con to some, but I personally support brands having less prints on their boxes just so they can reduce their carbon footprint during their manufacturing and packing processes. Here at the lower right side, we're greeted with features. I had to flip the camera around just so it can fit in the frame. Anyways, apparently it's a 240Hz IPS display, features Game Assist and OSD Sidekick features, and also has low blue light and flicker-free technologies for comfort. And not much else is on the box. Alright, let's open it up. Upon opening up the box, we can see that there are some instructions printed on one of the flaps on how to unbox the monitor, the included accessories, and how to attach the stand base. Alright, pretty helpful. Upon pulling everything out, we can see that everything in the inside is wedged in between two molds of thick styrofoam to protect it from bumps during shipping. This is pretty standard of gaming monitors. Heading on over to the accessories, we have the weighted base, the stand or neck, the choice between a dual prong and triple prong power cable, and an extra bag of accessories. Inside here are the manuals and warranty information, a DisplayPort cable, and the little cable management hook that connects to the back of the stand. Alright, those are all the accessories, let's get them attached to the monitor. Like with any other modern monitor, Gigabyte urges you to connect the stand and the base to the monitor while it's still lodged in the styrofoam mold, so the sensitive panel can be protected. Don't worry, there are instructions printed on the protective film on the monitor, so you won't be confused on how to install it. It's as simple as locking the stand first to the back of the monitor, making sure that the lock button pops up to confirm a good connection, then connecting the base. There are two indexing pins on the base that slot into the bottom of the stand, and you can fix that into place by tightening this toolless screw by hand. It should take no more than 30 seconds to get it all connected. Now that we've got this set up, let's have a tour around the Gigabyte GS27Q X. First thing to notice is its size. It's huge. By this time, I'm pretty used to working on 27-inch monitors, but mine is wall-mounted and I sit a bit of a ways from it. But handling another 27-inch monitor up close like this reminds me of the sheer size of these things. Looking at it from the front, we can see that Gigabyte went with very understated styling for this monitor. There's only a single Gigabyte logo type screen printed here at the chin of the monitor, and the base is simple enough as to not catch too much attention. There is a simple nipple-style menu button and navigation here underneath the chin. It's very ergonomic. Flipping it over to the back, we can see that it's styled the way OLED monitors are nowadays. There's just a large section in the middle that houses all of the hardware, and the sides are left relatively thin since they're mostly just there to support the size of the display. Either way, I dig it. Here at the middle, we can see that it supports 100mm VESA mounts. Always a good thing to see on any monitor. All my main monitors are on VESA mounts, so this is a non-negotiable for me. Heading on down to the bottom, we can see its port selection. It has two HDMI ports, a display port, and a headphone or speaker out. At the other side of the stand is the power port. Since the stand is pretty simple, it only supports tilt adjustment. There is no swivel, rotate, or height adjustment available. One thing I'd like to point out here is the lack of any grills or openings for a speaker, because this monitor doesn't come with any built-in. Long ago, I would have found that to be unacceptable, but since even cheap speakers now are capable of some pretty good acoustic performance, this is perfectly fine for me. As long as it has a noise-free speaker out that can do 48 kHz 16-bit, it's good enough for most applications. Last thing to see here at the back is how to attach the little hook loop for cable management. Just align it to the holes here on the side and snap it on. You can run your cables through here so your setup can look tidy. And that's it for our product tour. Let's plug it in and test the features available on the Gigabyte GS27Q X. Alright, so I've got it now set up here at my secondary desk. It was super fast to set up and it's sitting at a good viewing height. It's currently connected to my PC through DisplayPort and connected to my mobile gaming setup via HDMI, so we can test what are the features available to be customized while in HDMI mode and in DisplayPort mode. Do note that in my testing, I was only able to access the full 240Hz refresh rate when using DisplayPort mode. In HDMI mode, I was only able to run it at a max of 144Hz. With all that out of the way, let's check out its features. Starting with HDMI mode, we can call the OSD by pressing down the nipple navigation button underneath the chin of the monitor. As we can see, we're presented with 4 choices: Settings, Crosshairs, Game Assist, and Power Off. Let's start with Settings. In this menu, we can immediately see at the top the current relevant settings and parameters of the monitor, like the resolution, refresh rate, and image parameters. Starting with the Gaming sub-menu, we can immediately see that the aim stabilizer feature is grayed out. We can enable this feature by turning off AMD FreeSync Premium. Aim stabilizer is a motion blur corrective feature for Gigabyte monitors to lessen the amount of perceived motion blur in games. This naturally will darken the image of the monitor. Sometimes this introduces input lag in some displays, but not all of them. I'll be testing it out in the full review if this setting does affect input lag. Let's leave it at off for now. Next is Black Equalizer. When pressed, it will bring up a picture of Denzel Washington in his role in the successful Equalizer movies. No, I'm just kidding. Black Equalizer is similar to gamma control on monitors. It adjusts the black point for the image. Lower values will darken the monitor and higher values will brighten the monitor. Then we have Super Resolution, which is just a sharpening filter. Higher settings will sharpen the image, but doing it too much might introduce some over-sharpening artifacts. I personally would set this at 1. The Display Mode option controls the scaling of the monitor. You can set it to follow the full size of the monitor or to follow the aspect ratio of the reported resolution of the connected device. This will be useful for some of you looking to play FPS games in stretched resolutions, or if you want to connect an older console that doesn't support 16:9 resolution displays. Next, we have Overdrive, which is an adaptive sharpening feature. This forces the pixels to refresh faster, making images clearer while in motion. I usually leave this on since it doesn't affect image quality too much while giving some perceived advantages. And lastly, we have FreeSync Premium. This just allows the connected device to sync up to the monitor using AMD FreeSync Premium features. I won't go into detail into this too much since it's a pretty common feature among this price range of monitors. Next submenu we have is Picture. Note that once we move to this submenu, the top bar changes to display current settings and parameters set for the image quality of the monitor. We are currently in SDR mode with brightness at 80, contrast at 50, sharpness at 5, gamma at 3, and at normal color temperature. That is the standard picture profile. Most picture profiles can be further fine-tuned with brightness, contrast, color vibrance, sharpness, gamma, color temperature, low blue light, and DCR settings. Next picture profile is Gaming, which increases the brightness and adds this slight blue tint to the image. Movie adds a lot more contrast with a slightly lower black point. Reader lowers the brightness by a lot and introduces a strong low blue light register to the image for an easier time reading documents and whatnot. Next is my favorite, sRGB mode. This neutralizes and flattens the color response of the image, making it ideal for sensitive color work. If you edit videos or photos, this should be the one you use. Then we have Custom, so you can fine-tune the image however you want. And lastly, we have Eco mode, which is sort of a power-saving mode for the monitor, enabling it to run at less power and less carbon footprint at the expense of some image quality, of course. Next up, we have the display submenu, which allows us to select the source, panel overclock settings, RGB range, and overscan features. These are pretty standard, so no need to go into detail. Next, we have picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture mode. These allow you to view two sources at the same time on one monitor. It's pretty useful if you're controlling two displays at the same time. The next submenus are just for system, where you can control audio volume and OSD settings and language and settings reset, the regular stuff. Alright, that's the image options in the OSD. Let's check out the OSD overlay options. Going back to the nipple button, pressing it and moving it to the left, we're presented with the crosshair option. This just allows you to overlay a crosshair at the middle of your screen to help you in aiming, if the game doesn't have a crosshair option. There are 4 crosshair modes available, all in green, but I would have liked to see a crosshair placement adjustment option here and even some color control. If you press the nipple button and move it to the right, we're presented with the Game Assist OSD. The Game Info option has a gaming timer feature, which allows you to put a timer on the screen so you can track how long you've been gaming for, or a countdown from a set time so you can be reminded of the short time we have on this mortal plane. It's pretty useful if you're keeping track of your gaming habits. For refresh rate, it just shows you on your monitor overlay your current reported refresh rate. There is also a control for the location of the info overlay if you don't want it to overlap with your game HUD. Last feature here is the monitor alignment, which just introduces some aligning marks so you can line up your monitors with each other, or align the monitor on a wall mount. It's pretty useful. Lastly, before we go to testing, there are quick access settings in the nipple button. Instead of pressing the middle first, you can press it in a direction and it will immediately bring up settings. Pressing it forward will open the black equalizer settings. Pressing it to the right will bring up input or source control. Pressing it back will allow you to select a picture mode, and pressing it to the left will allow you to quick select the crosshair. Finally, transferring over to DisplayPort mode will allow you to access the full 240Hz for the monitor. Although, as we can see here, it will prevent you from accessing the aim stabilizer, black equalizer, and picture profile settings. I'm not sure why this is, maybe because image control over DisplayPort is better than HDMI, so Gigabyte expects you to just adjust your image settings through your device over DisplayPort instead of on the monitor. Also, remember, you can only access the overclock option on DisplayPort, allowing you to run the GS27Q X at its maximum 250Hz refresh rate. It's also important to note that even if you're running HDMI to this monitor, if you turn on HDR, you're going to lose access to the same image adjustment options. I don't know about you guys, but if a monitor is HDR compatible, I'm always going to turn it on. Alright, wow, that was a lot of things to cover. Finally, we get to the fun part, testing it out. Let's go play some damn games. For testing, I'll be using it in 3 games, representing different imaging scenarios that you might encounter in your personal use of this monitor. I will be changing any settings of the monitor in between game switches, and I will not be using my anamorphic lens, nor putting any color correction or grading in my shots, as to try and give you the most neutral, true-to-life representation of what I'm seeing as I use the Gigabyte GS27Q X monitor. Anyway, let's head on over to our first game. So our first game is what I expect a lot of you purchasing this monitor will use it for, FPS gaming. This is Battlefield 2042, and I'll be seeing here if it can keep up with a fast-paced, incredibly busy game and resolve it well enough to be enjoyable. And yeah, what can I say? This is a strong first outing for the GS27Q X. I mean, just look at that. It looks really good. I'm finding very few motion blur artifacts on the monitor, and finding the correct image contrast and brightness was super fast. It only took a little adjustment with the HDR brightness toggle in the game settings. Our second game is Forza Horizon 5, and I chose this game because it affords us a lot of great colorful vistas, detailed environments, and of course, vibrant cars. This is a test for the color reproduction of the monitor. It should be able to tackle this beautiful game if I am to enjoy it to the fullest. This game also supports HDR, so I had to adjust my HDR settings yet again to take advantage of the better, brighter image. I found that even with the recalibrated HDR settings, I was kind of missing a bit of saturation in the environments. Though picture profiles are not editable in HDR mode, it looks like I'm going to have to adjust my game image through other means. It's not entirely bad, Forza Horizon 5 is still very much enjoyable in this state, but I don't feel like I'm getting the full 100% experience. Maybe only around 85%, 90% tops. And the last game for this test is Spyro Reignited. Being a remake of a retro platformer, this is a test of the overall image vibrance and liveliness of the monitor. The game doesn't require a whole lot of color accuracy nor speed, but it does show in a general fashion how well it can present your game visuals. And yeah, what can I say? When I use this game to test out monitors, I'm always looking for that Pixar cartoon feel, similar to how I feel when watching the original Toy Story. Image and color representation are pretty good. There's a lot of headroom available for color tuning, and maybe through NVIDIA software. But as it stands, it's pretty neutral, with a little bit of lean towards the vibrant side. It's enjoyable, but it does leave a lot of space for image tuning down the line. Nothing I hold against the GS27Q X. So, the Gigabyte GS27Q X is currently priced at around 20,000 pesos, or around $350. Now, this isn't yet my full review. There's a lot more that I can talk about with this monitor, but at that price, with this many features, and this good of an image, with a 240Hz or up to 250Hz refresh rate, man, I'd consider this sold. So that's the Gigabyte GS27Q X gaming monitor. If you want to get one of these for yourself, I've added some links to the description. Do you have any questions about it? Leave them down in the comment and I'll do my best to answer them. While you're there, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. It helps out a lot. That's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.